That very point was made in a column by our friend Coulter. Could Hillary Clinton tell us what percentage of Muslims are deplorable? In light of what has happened now in New York and New Jersey and Minnesota, it does seem like she's extremely critical of Americans and the half of the country that dares to disagree with her, but she can't even say radical Islam. Ann Coulter, author of the brand new book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. Ann Coulter's you crack me up. You know, just looking at you cracks me up. You're like my adopted sister. How are you?
Fantastic. I could not be happier.
By the way,
that was a great point of Trump's. Yeah. And I think it's worth pointing out that this is not only true with the Democrats, but it's infected. Somehow the Democrats have buffaloed every Republican until Trump into taking this same approach toward traditional Americans. And by which I mean the people who populated America from 1640 to 1970, about 90% white, 10% black. The Democrats have just decided, okay, white America, you're a declining demographic. We're going to treat immigrant grievance groups as if they're NARAL and give you everything you want. I think not only Democrats, but an awful lot of Republicans until Trump would have been perfectly happy to attack traditional Americans. But no. We can make no generalizations about any ethnic grievance group. Despite the fact, as I point out in chapter 1 of my book, this is the society, this is the culture, this is the country that works the best, that is the most successful. I mean, apart from subjective reasons of people just loving their own home, this is the society that works the best, and we're supposed to give it away. The political correctness has infected the culture so that people feel like anyone we replace an American with makes this a better country, when it's exactly the opposite of the truth.
You know, you said this in Adios America. It's now really, look at the debate. There's three major issues. I keep saying this is a huge choice election. The Supreme Court, economic
it's the end
plan,
of America if it's not Trump.
Energy, Obamacare. There's such profound differences, and it drives me insane that you still have a group of so-called conservatives, Republicans.
They're utterly irrelevant.
Pathetic.
And
you
I
tell
think
me to
it's
stop
charming
talking
that
about
you
it.
keep swatting the mosquitoes around us.
Yeah,
I think Trump is doing quite well. I know you
Without
don't like
them.
to hate watch TV the way I do. There was a period where I haven't even been able to watch my favorite hate watching network, MSNBC, because it's just a daily slander. It's not even fun. It's not even interesting. But I got to tell you, in the last week, all the primetime hosts, the octaves of their voices are getting about 8 higher. But they are hysterical. They are panicking.
Did you hear what that guy Chris Hayes said? He said, well, thank God they used explosives and didn't have guns. I'm like, oh, okay. Did anyone hear the Murrah Federal Building over there at MSNBC?
I mean, they've thrown everything they can at Trump from day one. We have known everything. Now we have Hillary rerunning the thing about, which I write about in my book, the alleged attack on John McCain, which you and I talked about on TV, incidentally, and I explained it at the time. By the way, now that Hillary is running an ad claiming that Donald Trump and this horrible joke about I prefer soldiers who aren't we supposed to capture the other guy, not be captured. Al Franken, who supports Hillary Clinton, was at a photographer's dinner, which he writes about in his book Lying Liars. It's posted on my webpage. He told the exact same joke at this big White House dinner. And according to him, big laughs. He said, I don't know. Aren't we supposed to prefer the ones who aren't you supposed to capture the other guy and not be captured? Big laughs. And he wasn't being provoked. I mean, as I describe in my book, and I said to you on TV at the time, Trump was angry and he deserved to be angry. McCain had just called 15,000 Arizonans who turned out to see Trump's very first rally after the Mexican rapist speech. 15,000 Americans and Trump and John McCain called them crazies. Crazies.
Yeah, I know.
That's what Trump was responding to. Once again, long-suffering Americans who have never gotten a hearing on immigration, once again, they would be marginalized and dismissed as, quote, crazies.
No. Did you see Obama spoke to the UN today and talked down America 11 times? 11. America, there's too much money in politics, too much entrenched partisanship, too few Americans civically engaged, a patchwork of laws in America. set out to make it hard for Americans to vote. Considering our founding ideals, America's made our share of mistakes over the last 25 years. The only way the world will become more secure is for powerful nations like America to accept constraints. And it goes, I just can't even read it.
But this is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning. It's not political. I love that Trump is going after political correctness. Mainly it's his issues, immigration, trade, and no more endless, pointless wars. But the political correctness is more than just Donald Trump saying schlonged. It is the way, and this kind of political correctness wasn't around with Reagan. It arose sometime since then. You not only have the little Nazi bloc watchers, but it's infected our entire dialogue so that it is the official position of the Democratic Party that America is better the more Americans we replace with foreigners. And as I point out in the book, it's exactly the opposite of the truth. This country was founded by the most honest people on the face of the earth. I mean, sure, we have some fabulous immigrants and we can assimilate the ones who come from different cultures. But this is the culture that works the best. And it is part of our political correctness and our multiculturalism, this civic religion that America is a horrible, bad country. I mean, look, even at Republicans like Nikki Haley rushing in to take down Confederate soldiers, to take down that's not only part of our history, but wow, talk to Pat Goodell about the history of the Civil War and the Confederates. It was an amazing, I'll just say very quickly about this, I don't want to get too sidetracked, but it was an amazing way to end a civil war that no other country had ever done. First of all, 600,000 white men died for the principle that all men are created equal. And then instead of having endless wars like in the Balkans where you're still fighting one another for centuries, they shook hands. The deal was the South lost, but the North will respect their valor. And it's generally Southerners that have formed the backbone of our military that, crushed the Nazi war machine and again, second generation immigrant, Nikki Haley to come in and a Republican and strip Americans of their history and their heritage. This is the political correctness that Trump is going against, so much more than just, forcing reporters to let him say anchor baby.
Let me ask you this. You said from the very beginning you thought it was near 100% he'd get the nomination. Okay, got the nomination. And you've always been around, 60% chance he wins the general election.
Yes.
Now, with the shift, which has been dramatic now in the last 2 weeks in polls, where he's even up by 7 in the LA Times poll, and he's got 19% in the Pew poll, I believe, with black Americans.
Yes.
And Donald Trump is up in Ohio by 5 and 3, respectively, and up in Florida by a number of points, and winning in North Carolina, and up by 8 or 9 in Iowa now, and up by 2 in Colorado, and up by 2 in Nevada. Looks like Ann Coulter is, we now see an electoral path for him to win.
Well, I did back in March. I wrote a column on it. And there are a lot of paths to victory for him, contrary to what you hear in the media. I did an analysis assuming that he was going to lose Florida, which I don't think is even true. But what I looked at there were 10 states. Mitt Romney, who was beleaguered by that poor, sad Stuart Stevens, the man who knows less about winning an election than any mammal on North America. That was his campaign consultant. And he always brags about how Mitt Romney got more of the white vote than even Ronald Reagan did. Well, yeah, but you still had a lot of Southerners voting Democrat in 1980. Point two, John Anderson ran in 1980. In any event, we run, and third, and most importantly, we have this thing called the Electoral College. So the overall white vote doesn't matter. Mitt Romney won something like 84% of the white vote in Alabama, 80% in Mississippi. He actually lost the white vote in 5 states and came in far below his national average in 5 other states. So if you just take the 10 states where Romney didn't either lost the white vote to Obama or got less than his national average, if Trump takes 5 of those states. And just I think he's going to get, and I've said from the beginning, I have many, many bar bets on Trump winning more of the black vote than any Republican since Nixon. But put and Hispanic vote, let's put that aside. If he only increases the white vote, 3-4% in any 5 of 10 states, he wins. And that's excluding New Mexico, Nevada, and Florida.
It's amazing. Now, one of the things I'm finding very humorous is either the never Trumpers or the pro-Hillary crowd, they're all freaking out.
Oh, yeah.
The media is losing it.
They're going mad.
They're going mad because with each day and each poll, it becomes more of a possibility. And there's even poll numbers out today that confirm this, that Donald Trump is going to be the 45th president of the United States. That scares the living crap out of them.
It's hilarious. But not only that, look at the three things they have been the most hysterical about. I mean, it is following the pattern I expected it to. Whenever people see Donald Trump himself, his poll numbers go up. When they're listening to the media call him Hitler, David Duke, KKK, his numbers go down.
You must be listening to the Glenn Beck show.
Every media outlet, it's insane. They've thrown everything they can. They have nothing left. They don't have any quivers that they have left sheathed that they can pull out at the last minute, which is fantastic.
There's always the Nazi analogies. There was one used by one of his co-hosts against me recently. That's why I mentioned that.
Oh, I see. No, but yeah, if you haven't been called Hitler, you're not cool these days. Oh. Anyway, the three things they've gone mental over the most, just in roughly the last week. Number one, they're hysterically attacking that massive, force of nature, the alpha male, Matt Lauer. So there's the Matt Lauer attack.
That is hilarious.
I mean, the idea that he was rougher on Hillary than Trump is insane, but people got to see them both in person. Number two, the Jimmy Fallon thing. They're hysterical at Jimmy Fallon. Why? Because
he had fun with Trump.
And the third one is Trump tricked them into covering that entire beautiful veteran speech.
Wasn't that was a stroke of genius?
He does it all the time. He did it with the fake softening on the immigration speech. But the point is, what are they the most hysterical about when somehow the public, the voters, have been able to see Donald Trump himself? Well, they're not going to be able to stop that for the three debates. Trump is a nice man. He comes across as a sweet man. I mean, when that African-American pastor up in Michigan, I think quite rudely went and interrupted him, was nasty to him.
Can you stick around?
He was really sweet about it. He said, "Oh, okay." Yeah. Whenever you see him, his numbers go up. Yes, I can stick around.
All right. Well, because I never get to see you in studio. It's great to see, because you're like my adopted sister. I fight with behind the scenes all the time, and it's so annoying, but I still love you dearly. And you're such a troublemaker. I mean, I have to get you out of trouble day in and day out, bailing Ann out of jail.
I want another pillow. I came for a pillow.
Isn't my pillow amazing?
It's fabulous, but I need two.
No, too bad. Go buy one. You get two for the price of one if you mention my name. All right, we'll take some calls, too, in the next half hour for Ann Coulter. Toll free, it's 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of the program. Her brand new book, how'd you do on the New York Times list, do you know?
Made the list. I was the
nice.
number 3 most selling hardcover in the country.
In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. By the way, the New York Times has a history of not being particularly kind and generous to conservative authors when they have number one bestsellers.
No, and also they've really gone crazy this election. I know you just talked to the New York Times reporter. I did too, and although he seems perfectly fair and honest, there's absolutely no way that can be a fair and honest piece. I mean, I am the New York Times most loyal reader, and they're out of their minds. All they do is tell lies. There was one article this weekend. Well, for one thing, I was flying back from Alaska. I was in Alaska this weekend. And
where were you in Alaska?
Anchorage.
And what were you doing there?
Giving a speech. It was fantastic. It was awesome.
I've never been to Alaska. It's like the only state I've never been to.
I know. That's why I went there in the middle of a book tour. I was dying to go. Now there's only one state of the 50 I haven't been to.
Which one?
North Dakota. If you could
I've been to North Dakota.
You could plan a freedom fest there or something. I would accept any invitation. I've got to go to North Dakota so I can say I've been to all 50 states.
I want to go to salmon fishing and moose hunting at Governor Palin's place.
But anyway, what were you talking about? It was something important. Oh, yeah, I was reading the New York Times. And I had picked up someone else's copy of it because I was rushing to make my connecting flight. This was the day after the mall stabbing in Minnesota, the bomb in Seaview, New Jersey, the bombs in Chelsea, New York. Front page of the New York Times, major story on the rise of the incidence of Islamophobia. And I actually looked at the date of the newspaper thinking maybe that man was reading a newspaper from last week. The New York Times can't be insane enough to take the occasion of Muslims engaging in very poor deportment skills, once again, to run this article on the front page of their newspaper. But no, that's what they do. And in fact, I have an entire chapter on it in Trump We Trust, on how the media have basically since 9/11, they have turned themselves into the PR agents for Islam. What? And the first thing they are worried about, the New York Times is terrified that somehow, ISIS will get hold of a nuclear bomb, will hit New York because, Sean, that could give rise to...
Here's three big reasons,
that could give rise to Islamophobia.
Here's, I think, a question that every American needs to ask on national security. Do they want a president that can say radical Islam? Do they want a president that's going to vet refugees? Well, you don't want a president that's going to vet refugees? I do. Because
no, sorry, go ahead.
Because Clapper...
This obsession Fox News has with the words. The point is they won't fight it. They don't care about it. They want this breakneck speed of importing ISIS to our country.
That's
remember
my point.
Last
That's
week,
what this election is about. You're missing my question. You're not listening.
This obsession with words.
Okay.
It's almost like conservative
when
political
Clapper,
correctness.
Comey, Brennan, and McCall and General Allen all say ISIS infiltrates and you don't vet them and people die, why is Hillary and Democrats...
Vetting. The vetting, as I point out in both Adios America and in Trump We Trust, we can't vet them. We can't. There's no database to vet them against. How about, as Trump said on December 8th, 2015, how about we take a little pause in Muslim immigration until we can figure out, I quote, what the hell is going on? This idea, I go through this extensively. The media keeps stating it is a fact and, fact-checking Trump supporters who say the vetting isn't working and, oh, no, these guys, they're getting a rectal exam. And then, one after another, another one slipped through. There's nothing to vet. We happen to know that immigrants from Muslim countries, whom we are taking more of in since 9/11 than we did before 9/11, we bring in more immigrants from Muslim countries than we do from the entire British Isles. That's insane. That's completely insane.
100,000 from Somalia alone.
Now, we know that in the whole pool of immigrants from Muslim countries, we are more likely to get a terrorist act than the entire pool of immigrants from the British Isles. Unless we're bringing in Muhammad Atta. That's gone all Muslim. Look at what's happened in Western Europe for your future, America.
It's true. I think it's a good point. All right, let's get to some phone calls here. Ann Coulter is with us. A brand new book is out. It's called In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. We have Barbara, Baltimore, WCBM. Barbara, say hi to Ann Coulter. Glad you called.
Hi, Ann. I'm a big fan, and I'm so glad to call today when you're on. I'll have to get that book. I love Godless. I love you. Your sarcasm.
Thank you. You have to get the last two.
Well, it's, when you understand the English language, and sarcasm and irony are just such great ways to communicate, and I love it. Sean, I'm very excited about the show that you're having tomorrow with the Black minister. I'm just so proud of you and what Mr. Trump is doing, and you're right there supporting him. I'd just like to say one thing about that, and I'm here in the blue state of Maryland. Most of the Republicans here, they're rhinos. Most of them were all Democrats just a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And I love the way that, not all of them, but a lot of them. And what I don't want to see happen here is what the Democrats have done. They show up for the vote and then they disappear. I think, I know that Mr. Trump wants to really change the community, all of the community, mm-hmm. but here and how you can influence him, I think he needs to get his people, outside people, Omarosa in particular.
Mm-hmm. And Omarosa will be out there tomorrow with us, by the way, and a lot of other prominent...
Because I would love to be in touch with her, because people like myself, those of us who are educated, who are Republicans and conservatives, who haven't really, the warm and fuzzy, Republicans are not warm and fuzzy. They haven't really learned how to do that. That's why so many of us were Democrats for so long.
So what's your question for Ann?
My question for you, Ann, and especially I know that Mr. Trump loves you as well. I just, my thing was mainly about keeping the black people engaged, doing what he wants to get done, and making it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. And one of the things you always hear on TV, we've made fun of the rest of the media, even allegedly conservative commentators, they all have the same set points that are never based in logic. Everybody just must say the same thing because they have to say something when they're on TV, and they're not very bright. And one thing, every time I turn on my TV, I think I hear someone, an inside analysis that, the reason Trump is going after the African American vote isn't really to get the African American vote. That's to get white suburban women. No, I think he actually wants the African American vote. And the fact that he keeps going after it over and over again. And moreover, look at his policies. We'll get to his entire life in a moment, but look at his policies. Who does this dump of low-wage workers on the country through both legal and illegal immigration hurt the most? African Americans. Carol Swain, a black professor at Vanderbilt University, has written about this endlessly. I cite her in Adios America. This is who's being hurt. The Democrats don't care. Trump is absolutely right. Democrats want the black vote, and then they say, see ya in 4 years. That's it. Trump is going to bring jobs back, bring them back from Mexico, bring them back from Asia. How about all the jobs building the wall? Seriously, that is a lot of jobs. How long is it going to take to build that wall? A year? Think of the massive number of high-paying jobs, the rebuilding of infrastructure, and then look at Trump's entire life. Look at my column last week on this. I have quotes from Mike Tyson, from Jamil Shaw, from ordinary blacks to celebrity black people. They all say Trump isn't like other politicians. Tyson even says, it's not like Barack. Trump really cares about me and my family. It has always been true. He's always had a great relationship with black people. He employs a lot of them. And it's just, part of the media's playbook. A Republican's running for president. We have to call him a racist. Never been called a racist before in his entire life.
Barbara, thank you. Appreciate the call. Pastor Steve is in North Carolina. Pastor, you're on the Sean Hannity Show. Ann Coulter's with us. How are you?
Hey, Ann, how you doing?
Great, thanks.
You sound like a New Yorker. What do you mean you're from North Carolina?
Well, I'm from a lot of places. I'm a military brat, but one of the things that keeps me passionate about listening to you, and especially loving your work, Ann, I follow your work, and I think you are just fantastic. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you for having the guts to put these idiots in their place.
Thank you.
I was at Ground Zero, Sean, as you know, for 10 weeks, starting on September 13th, counseling, praying with the first responders at the rubble pile. And when I see the stuff that Hillary Clinton does with a straight face, I become literally enraged. I have to stop and I have to pray for myself just to count to 10 and try to get over it. The other morning, I think it was Sunday morning when she came on, which looked like she had overdosed on her meds a little bit or something. She went on this little soliloquy about how, Donald Trump said it was a bomb. Now, he shouldn't say anything before he knows what's really going on. And I thought to myself, you know what, Hillary, you have a hell of a nerve criticizing anybody about something that happens on or about September 11th, some sort of a terrorist attack, because as we know, you stood in front of the parents of those people who'd been killed there, who you let die, who you were in part responsible for, and told them a lie that you knew was a lie at the time. And then you continued to tell that lie because politics is more important to you than the truth or anything else.
Pretty much the Democratic Party, isn't it? I mean, they...
Yes, and if I could get back to the most important issue, immigration, Trump is absolutely right when he's... and wow, Jeb, exclamation point, was shocked when he brought it up. It wasn't part of the Republican repertoire to say, you say Bush kept us safe, but I seem to remember 9/11 happening on his watch. And his argument, which he did not make at that debate, but he had made previously, and the correct argument is, when they say, well, how would you have stopped it? He says, well, maybe those hijackers wouldn't have been in this country if my immigration policies were in place. And that's true. That's true. Why do we talk about 9/11 without considering what it is that brought these immigrants here? I don't care if they're on tourist visas or work visas. We don't have to admit them. We don't have to admit any of the rest of the world. What brought Omar Mateen here? What brought the Tsarnaev brothers here? Instead of wandering off, liberals wander off on gun control. Conservatives wander off on how we need to remake the entire Middle East into perfect Jeffersonian democracies. How about don't let them in?
I think that's the answer. Very simply. All right, back to our phones. Thank you, Pastor. As we head to Paradise, Naples, Florida, my home away from home, Fox News 92.5. Checking in with Greg. Greg, you're on the Sean Hannity Show. Say hello to Miss Ann Coulter, the ever so eloquent and
hello, Greg.
Deplorable bartender from Florida. Just calling to say hi. I tried to go to the rally yesterday in Estero.
Yeah, I saw it was packed. I saw the lines. They were massive.
There was over 20,000 people there. We got there at noon.
By the way, another typical day in the life of Trump, by the way. That's not unusual.
Yep, from the beginning.
Everyone needs to go to one of his rallies because it's the people you see. It's all walks of life. It's everybody. It's all the deplorables. It's absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Most times you can go shake a candidate's hand, say hello, greet them, but
And very mixed race. Very mixed race, contrary to what the media shows. Also, remember, whenever they complain about Trump's audiences being too white, wow, something they'd never say about another ethnic group. Please remember that when Trump went to an expressly African-American neighborhood in Chicago, protesters shut the rally down. The media's response was to say, well, you shouldn't have gone there. How dare you? They try to make this difficult, and Trump just keeps doing it. The other thing about these huge rallies he's having, okay, it's true. You can't, this isn't a poll. You can't prove that Trump is going to win just because he has 30,000 people at his rallies and Hillary can barely get 200. Yet and still, what's important about the enthusiasm in the rallies is, for one thing, I don't think those are voters who care that the New York Times and MSNBC and every other cable network is incessantly lying about Trump, just simply lying. They will not be swayed. Trump is right. This is why he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and his supporters are not leaving him as long as he sticks to his policies on immigration and trade and so on and so forth. And the other thing is, enthusiasm bleeds to other people. You have all of these fanatical Trump supporters who can talk to their neighbors and argue to their neighbors and counter the incessant bile we're hearing from the media. So, yeah, I think these rallies do mean something. All
right, Ann Coulter, congratulations on your book. Are you hitting any book signings in coming days, or what are you doing?
I'm debating James Carville and Bakersfield in
California?
In a few weeks.
Did they bring back that business conference they had years ago? I heard they might be thinking about doing that. I did that years ago.
And I'm doing San Francisco a few weeks after that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing Philadelphia this Thursday.
Well, it's about time you told our friends at WPHT you're going to be there. All right. Congratulations on the book, In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome. What do you think the odds are? Last question, and you got a short answer here, that he wins.
More likely than not. And I think it's
Give me a number, percentage.
I told you, 90% nomination, 60% presidency, maybe a little more than 60% now, because I've been able to watch and see everything's happening the way I thought it would happen. And people, if anything, are going to watch Trump more. This is an important election. They're not just going to listen to the Treason Times. They're going to want to see this guy, and you can't help but to watch him and see that he's a really sweet person. He's not, you can't look at Jimmy Fallon pulling his hair and think, he's Hitler.
All right, Ann Coulter, thank you for being with us in Philly on Thursday, then out in Bakersfield and San Francisco. Go to anncoulter.com if you want more information.